For centuries, the ancient door had stood in silence on the forgotten planet. The Xipherians, an advanced race of beings who had once ruled vast stretches of the galaxy, built it long before their fall from power. The door was unlike any other, seemingly ordinary on the outside, yet it hummed with a strange energy. No one had ever succeeded in opening it, and over time it became nothing more than a myth whispered about by explorers and scholars. Some said it held untold secrets, while others believed it was the gateway to a powerful weapon. But whatever lay behind it, the door remained closed. On the remote planet, now a barren world with only ruins scattered across its surface, the door stood tall, waiting. But it had been waiting for something, or someone. The Discovery Marin was a young human girl from a colony on a distant world. She wasn't a warrior or a scientist, just an ordinary teenager with an extraordinary curiosity for ancient history. Her parents had always supported her interest in the past, taking her on trips to explore old ruins and forgotten places. That's how she found herself on this long-forgotten world, part of a small team of explorers sent to study the remains of the Xipherian civilization. The team was composed of several other scientists and archaeologists, but it was Marin who was most fascinated by the mysterious door. She had heard of it before, whispers about an ancient sealed doorway that no one had ever opened. But when she saw it with her own eyes, something about it felt different. It was like the door was waiting for her. Even the air around it seemed to hum with energy, like a heartbeat waiting to be heard. While the others focused on nearby ruins, Marin stood before the door studying it. It was large, made of a strange metallic material that shimmered in the light. It had no obvious locks, no hinges, only strange markings that spiraled across its surface. There was no keyhole, no sign of a mechanism to open it, and yet Marin felt drawn to it. Her fingers trembled as she reached out, brushing her hand against the cold surface. The moment her skin touched the door, a strange warmth spread through her hand and the ground beneath her feet trembled. She stepped back in surprise, her heart racing, but the door didn't move. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. That night, after the others had gone to sleep, Marin returned to the door. She stood in front of it again as if she were meant to. The moonlight bathed the door in a soft glow, and for a moment everything was still. She reached out once more, this time with more confidence, and placed her hand flat against the door. It was then that it happened. With a low, almost imperceptible hum, the door shuddered, and the markings on its surface began to glow faintly. The door slowly, almost unwillingly, began to open. Marin's heart skipped a beat as she stepped back, watching in awe as the ancient door creaked open, revealing what lay inside. The revelation behind the door was a vast, dark chamber, its walls lined with strange glowing symbols. At first, Marin thought she saw nothing but shadows, but then as the door continued to open, a faint light began to pulse from deep within the room. She could feel a strange pull, an energy she couldn't explain, drawing her toward it. She knew she should call the others, but something told her this was meant to be discovered by her alone. Stepping cautiously into the chamber, Marin found herself surrounded by strange technology. It was unlike anything she had ever seen, a mix of organic and mechanical structures that pulsed with life. In the center of the room stood a large floating object, its shape both familiar and alien. It seemed to be some kind of artifact, a device of immense power. The symbols that covered the walls seemed to be written in a language she couldn't understand, but somehow she knew they held the key to the room's purpose. As she approached the artifact, she could feel the energy around her intensify. It was as if the object was alive, breathing with a power she could barely comprehend. And yet there was something comforting about it, as if it had been waiting for her to find it. Marin reached out cautiously, her fingers brushing against the surface of the artifact. The moment her touch made contact, a rush of images flooded her mind. Ancient memories, long forgotten, flashed before her eyes. She saw the Xipherian race at its height, advanced, wise, and powerful. She saw their cities, their triumphs, and their eventual downfall. Their ambition had led them to create this artifact, a tool of unimaginable power. But they had been unable to control it, and it had destroyed them. In the midst of the images, one thing became clear. The Xipherians had created this artifact as a failsafe, a way to ensure that only those who could truly understand its power would be able to use it. And now that responsibility had fallen to Marin. The struggle, Marin staggered back, overwhelmed by the flood of memories and information. She felt dizzy, as if her mind had been opened to something much larger than herself. The artifact had chosen her, but she had no idea what that meant. The Zephyrian consciousness had merged with hers, and now, she was the keeper of their greatest secret, but she wasn't alone. Back outside, the other members of the exploration team were starting to realize something was wrong. They hadn't seen Marin for hours, and now with the door open, the energy surrounding the chamber was growing stronger. They knew that they had to investigate, but they didn't know what awaited them inside. Marin stood in the heart of the chamber, the weight of her discovery pressing down on her. She could feel the pull of the artifact, and with it a growing responsibility. The power it held was immense, but so were the dangers of using it. The Zephyrians had failed because they had sought to control it without understanding its true purpose. And now, Marin had to decide. Should she keep the artifact's power for herself, or should she lock it away again, sealing it from those who might seek to misuse it? The decision was hers, and it would shape the future of humanity. But she wasn't the only one who sought its power. As Marin stood there, lost in thought, she heard the sound of footsteps echoing from the doorway. Her team had arrived.